Alright, we're going to talk about some early civilizations in Latin America. The first group I want to talk about is the Aztecs. The Aztecs inhabited central Mexico from about 1200 AD to about the 16th century when the Spanish took them over. The Aztecs were a group of fierce warriors that conquered many people around them and offered human sacrifices to their many gods. Here you can see where the Aztecs were located in central Mexico. Here's some notes to take down about the Aztec civilization. Aztecs arrived at the Valley of Mexico in the 1200s. They wandered about looking for a home site until 1325. That's when they found their capital city. Here's a depiction of the Aztecs. Okay, in 1325, the Aztecs built their capital city on a swampy island in the middle of Lake Texcoco. They named this capital city Tenochtitlan. It would later become Mexico City. Tenochtitlan was home to thousands of people. It was considered one of the most modern cities of its time. Here's a diorama of the capital city in the Natural History Museum in Chicago. Here's some more notes of the capital city I'd like you to take down. Pause the video if you need to. At its peak, the Aztec Empire included more than 5 million people. The Aztecs were an ingenious people who invented chinapas. Chinapas were floating gardens that they used to harvest crops on the surface of Lake Texcoco. The Aztecs learned many valuable skills from the people they conquered. Valuable skills such as metalworking and pottery making. The Aztecs also invented concepts that helped them to create a calendar. They used this calendar to time their harvest and different religious events. Here's some more notes for you to take down about the expanding empire of the Aztecs. In the 1400s, Aztec warriors began conquering other people. They made them pay taxes, and noble Aztecs grew rich. Aztecs had an emperor. The nobles and priests helped the emperor. All were very wealthy. That doesn't mean everybody in the Aztec Empire was rich. Most people were just farmers. As we said before, the Aztecs were fierce warriors. Here's a depiction of their eagle warriors. Here are some of the achievements of the Aztecs. Their doctors developed thousands of medicines from plants. Astronomers predicted movements of the planets, which helped them design an accurate calendar. Priests kept extensive records using hieroglyphics. As far as schooling, boys studied either religion or military skills, and girls learned cloth spinning and cooking. They learned valuable skills like metalworking and pottery making from people they conquered. Here's an Aztec sunstone. This was used as a calendar. Here are some sample earrings that's jewelry the Aztecs make. This is that metalworking skill we discussed. Here's a mosaic mask. Their religion. Aztec cities were religious centers. They worshiped their gods in pyramid-shaped temples. Sacrifice was an important part of the religious ceremonies. This was meant to honor the gods. The Aztecs worshipped many gods. Here are some pictures of Aztec temples. Instead of tearing down old temples, Aztecs would just keep adding levels to the existing one. This one was built over 6 times. Rooms for sacrificing are at the very top. Here's one last picture of Aztec temple. Okay, let's review some things. The Aztec civilization lived in central Mexico. The Aztec men were fierce warriors. The Aztec capital city was built in the middle of Lake Texcoco. Tenochtitlan's location protected it from attacks by enemies. Do you remember what those floating gardens were called? They were chinampas. The Aztec used a blank to time planting and harvesting of crops. If you remember, this was the sunstone. Good job, it was a calendar. Hopefully you knew all these answers from watching the video in your notes.
The Aztecs were a powerful tribe of Native Americans who ruled over and levied taxes on nearly 500 towns in central Mexico from the 14th century through the early 1500s. The Aztec Empire was home to some 15 million people. The Aztecs' culture was one of the most advanced in the New World. They developed a form of pictographic writing, established laws, composed poetry, and produced intricate handcrafted items. Their capital city, Tenochtitlan, with a population of around 200,000 people, was as large as any city in Europe at that time. Its skyline was impressive, consisting of splendid temples and palaces and massive government buildings. Tenochtitlan stood on an island in the middle of Lake Texcoco, and it was linked to the mainland by elevated roadways. The city's canals were used for transportation, and its extensive gardens provided food for the inhabitants. The Aztecs, who were also known as the Mexica, were governed by an emperor. Emperors were royal family members, but the position was not hereditary. Instead, the rulers were chosen by a council of nobles. Religion was the focal point of Aztec life. They worshipped many gods, although their main deity was the sun and war god, Huitzilopochtli. Tribal priests constantly made offerings to the gods to win their favor. Often, they paid religious tribute through the practice of human sacrifice. The dedication of a large temple might require the sacrifice of thousands of individuals. Human sacrifices were seen as necessary for the survival of the tribe, and those selected for the purpose were honored as messengers to the gods. However, many of those chosen were unwilling members of neighboring tribes who had been captured in wartime. As a result of this practice, and because of the heavy taxes they were forced to pay, most of the conquered tribes deeply resented the Aztecs.